The stars had never seemed so close until the day they brought visitors. Captain Daniel Harris stood on the observation deck of Unity 1, staring at the massive alien ship that had appeared just beyond the moon. 3 months ago, humanity had sent its first deep space message into the universe, hoping someone might answer. Now someone had, and Daniel was not sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing. The alien vessel was enormous, at least 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built. Its surface looked smooth and almost alive, like it had been grown rather than constructed. Lights pulsed along its hull in patterns Daniel could not understand. The ship had simply appeared one morning, materializing out of nothing as if space itself had opened up and let it through. Earth's government had gone into emergency session immediately. Every military installation went on high alert. Scientists scrambled to analyze every piece of data they could gather about the mysterious vessel, and Daniel, as commander of humanity's largest orbital station, found himself at the center of first contact with an alien civilization. The aliens had sent a message within hours of their arrival. It came in perfect English, somehow translated through technology humans could barely imagine. They called themselves the Collective, a union of 47 different alien species who had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. They came in peace, they said. They came to welcome humanity into the galactic community. It all sounded wonderful, but Daniel had been a military officer long enough to know that things which sounded too good to be true usually were. He watched the alien ship through the viewport and wondered what they really wanted. Commander Lisa Morgan arrived on Unity 1 2 days after the aliens appeared. She was Earth's top diplomat, chosen to lead the negotiation team because of her sharp mind and calm demeanor. Daniel met her at the docking bay, noting the tension in her shoulders despite her professional smile. "Have they made any aggressive moves?" Lisa asked as they walked through the station's corridors. "None," Daniel replied. "They just sit there, waiting. They've asked to meet with us 3 times now. Very polite about it." "Polite can be dangerous," Lisa said quietly, "especially when you don't understand the culture behind the politeness." The meeting took place aboard the alien vessel, which they called a diplomatic ship. Daniel insisted on accompanying Lisa, along with a security team of 6 armed soldiers. The aliens agreed without hesitation, which Daniel found either reassuring or disturbing. He could not decide which. Boarding the alien ship felt like stepping into a dream. The interior was vast and strange, with walls that seemed to shift colors and floors that felt solid but looked transparent. The air smelled different, like rain mixed with something metallic. Everything was too clean, too perfect, too alien. Ambassador Kelthon met them in a large circular room. He was Vrex, one of the founding species of the Collective. He stood about 7 feet tall with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. His eyes were large and golden, and when he spoke, his mouth did not quite match the English words that came out. Some kind of translation device, Daniel assumed. "Welcome," Kelthon said, spreading all 4 arms wide. "We are honored to meet the newest intelligent species to reach for the stars." Lisa bowed slightly, a gesture she had practiced before coming. "We are honored by your visit. Humanity has long wondered if we were alone in the universe." "You are far from alone," Kelthon replied, his tone warm and friendly. "The galaxy is filled with life, with civilizations both young and ancient, and now humanity will join them." The way he said it made Daniel's hand move closer to his weapon. Not a threat, just instinct. Something about Kelthon's confidence felt wrong. The negotiations began immediately. Kelthon explained the structure of the Collective in detail. 47 species, thousands of worlds, a government that spanned multiple star systems. They had laws, trade agreements, military alliances, and a hierarchy that had kept peace for 3,000 years. And where would humanity fit in this hierarchy? Lisa asked, her voice neutral. Kelthon's expression shifted into something that might have been a smile. As all new species do, humanity would enter as a junior member. You would have representation, of course, but limited voting power, until you prove yourselves worthy of greater responsibility. This usually takes several generations. "Several generations," Lisa repeated slowly. "And what would be required of us during this time?" "Simple things," Kelthon assured her. "You would accept collective oversight of your military development. You would agree to regulated expansion into nearby star systems. You would share your resources and technology with the greater community. In return, you receive protection, access to advanced technology, and guidance from species who have traveled the stars for millennia. Daniel watched Lisa's face remain perfectly calm, but he knew her well enough to see the anger in her eyes. This was not an invitation to join equals. This was a demand for submission wrapped in diplomatic language. "We will need time to discuss this with our government," Lisa said carefully. "This is a decision that affects all of humanity." "Of course," Kelthon said, inclining his head. "We understand this is much to consider. We can give you 6 months to deliberate. Our ship will remain here available for further discussions whenever you wish." 6 months sounded generous, but Daniel heard the unspoken message clearly. 6 months to accept the inevitable. 6 months before they would expect an answer, and that answer had better be yes. The meeting ended with more diplomatic pleasantries. Daniel and Lisa returned to Unity 1 in silence, both lost in thought. Only when they were safely back in a secure conference room did Lisa speak. "They're offering us slavery with better furniture," she said bluntly. "Limited military, regulated expansion, no real voice in decisions. We would be subjects, not partners." "Can we refuse?" Daniel asked. "Can we afford to?" Lisa countered. "They have technology centuries beyond ours. If they decide to take what they want by force, what could we do to stop them?" Daniel had no answer to that. But as he looked out at the alien ship hanging in space like a sword over Earth's head, he thought about something Fleet Admiral Kevin Blake had once told him. Blake was Earth's highest-ranking military officer, a man who had spent his entire career preparing for threats both known and unknown. "Never let anyone see all your weapons until you have to use them," Blake had said, "and always have at least one weapon they don't know about." Daniel wondered if Blake had been preparing for something like this. He wondered if humanity had secrets the collective did not know about. He hoped so, because otherwise Earth's future looked very dark indeed. Back on Earth, President Rachel Moore called an emergency session of the Security Council. News of the alien contact had spread across the planet within hours. Some people celebrated, believing this was humanity's chance to join a peaceful galactic civilization. Others protested, demanding that Earth reject any agreement that compromised human sovereignty. Moore listened to all the arguments, but her mind kept returning to one question. If they said no, what would the collective do? And if they said yes, would humanity ever be truly free again? Admiral Blake sat in the council chamber saying nothing, his expression unreadable. But Moore noticed he did not seem afraid. If anything, he looked almost pleased, as if this was a problem he had been expecting and preparing for. "Admiral," Moore said finally, "do we have options beyond accepting or refusing their terms?" Blake smiled slightly. "Madam President, we always have options. The question is whether we're brave enough to use them." He requested a private meeting with Moore and her closest advisors. Whatever Blake had to say, it was classified at the highest level. And whatever it was, Moore suspected it was going to change everything. The secret meeting took place deep underground, in a facility that officially did not exist. President Rachel Moore arrived with only her most trusted advisors. Commander Lisa Morgan was there, along with Admiral Kevin Blake and half a dozen others who held the highest security clearances in human government. They gathered in a conference room surrounded by walls thick enough to block any signal, any listening device, any way for the collective to know what was being discussed. Blake stood at the head of the table, looking more relaxed than Moore had seen him in years. He pulled up a holographic display that showed technical specifications, ship designs, and data that made Moore's breath catch in her throat. 20 years ago, Blake began, we detected signals from deep space. Nothing clear, nothing we could translate, but enough to know we were not alone. The Security Council at that time made a decision. If aliens existed, we needed to be ready for them. Not ready to meet them as friends necessarily, but ready to defend ourselves if they came as conquerors. He changed the display to show a barren region of space far beyond Neptune's orbit, in the area called the Oort cloud, where comets and frozen rocks drifted in the darkness. We built a construction facility out there, hidden in a hollow dwarf planet. We gathered the best scientists and engineers from every nation. We gave them unlimited resources and one mission: build something that could protect humanity from an advanced alien threat. Moore leaned forward, her heart pounding. What did they build? Blake smiled. Something the collective has never seen before. Something that will make them think twice about treating us like children. The holographic display shifted to show a massive warship. It was 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons covered in armor plating and designed with a brutal efficiency that took Moore's breath away. This was not a ship meant for exploration or diplomacy. This was a weapon, pure and simple. We call it the Titan-class warship, Blake explained. The first one is named Defiant. It has been under construction for 15 years and reached operational status 6 months ago. 6 months ago, Lisa said sharply. You mean it was ready before the collective even arrived? Yes, Blake confirmed. Captain Nicole Foster has been training with her crew in the outer system ever since. They've been running combat simulations, testing systems, preparing for exactly this kind of situation. Moore stood and walked around the display, studying the warship from every angle. It was intimidating even as a hologram. She could only imagine what it would look like in reality. What makes it so special? She asked. Blake gestured to one of the scientists in the room, Dr. Alan Rodriguez. The man stood nervously, clearly uncomfortable being the center of attention. We've analyzed everything we could about the collective's diplomatic ship, Rodriguez explained. Their technology is advanced, yes, but it's also old. Very old. They reached a certain level and stopped innovating. Their faster-than-light drives are efficient but slow. Their weapons are powerful but predictable. Their shields use principles we already understood. He pulled up comparison data showing human technology alongside collective technology. We had the advantage of starting fresh. We didn't have thousands of years of established methods holding us back. We could experiment, take risks, try things the collective never considered. The Defiant's drive system appeared on the display, a complex web of components that manipulated space-time in ways Moore did not fully understand. The Defiant can accelerate faster, jump farther, and maneuver more precisely than anything the collective operates, Rodriguez continued. Our weapon systems use railguns that accelerate projectiles to incredible speeds, directed energy weapons powered by fusion reactors, and missiles with adaptive artificial intelligence guidance. Our defensive systems can track thousands of incoming threats simultaneously. One ship, Lisa said slowly. You built one ship to face an alliance of 47 species? One ship that they know about, Blake corrected. And one ship is enough to make a statement. Moore understood immediately. This was not about winning a war. This was about changing the negotiation. The collective had come expecting to find a weak species desperate for protection. Instead, they would find a species capable of defending itself. What are you proposing? Moore asked Blake directly. We reject their offer of junior membership, Blake said firmly. We propose a treaty between equals. Full sovereignty, unrestricted military development, equal voting rights in matters that affect us. And to show them we're serious, we bring the Defiant home from the outer system. That could provoke them, one of the other advisors warned. Good, Blake replied. Let them be provoked. Let them see that humanity is not going to roll over and accept subjugation. Better they learn that now than after we've signed away our freedom. Moore looked at Lisa. What do you think? Lisa was quiet for a moment, considering. Kelthon was arrogant, condescending. He treated us like children who needed guidance. But underneath that arrogance, I saw calculation. The collective is used to getting what they want through intimidation and the promise of protection. If we show strength, they might respect that. Or they might see it as a threat, Moore countered. Then we negotiate from strength instead of weakness, Lisa said. I would rather take that risk than spend the next few generations as second-class citizens in someone else's empire. The debate continued for hours. Some argued for caution, for accepting the collective's terms and hoping to change things gradually from within. Others argued that this was humanity's only chance to establish themselves as equals, and if they submitted now, they might never get another opportunity. Finally, Moore made her decision. We show them the Defiant. We make it clear that humanity is not defenseless, and we offer them a treaty between partners, not masters and servants. Blake nodded with satisfaction. I'll send the recall order to Captain Foster immediately. One question, Moore said. If this goes wrong, if they respond with force, can we actually fight them? Blake's expression turned serious. The Defiant is the most advanced warship humanity has ever built. Captain Foster and her crew are the best we have. But the collective has thousands of ships. In an all-out war, they would eventually overwhelm us through sheer numbers. So this is a bluff, someone said. No, Blake replied. It's a deterrent. We're showing them that conquest would be costly, that even if they won, the damage to their forces would be severe, that it's better to accept us as partners than to fight us as enemies, and we're betting that the collective, after 3,000 years of peace and stability, does not want a costly war. That's a big bet, Moore said quietly. Yes, Madam President, it is, but I believe in humanity. I believe in our ability to stand up for ourselves. And I believe that if we don't take this stand now, we will regret it for generations to come. Moore looked around the room at the people who would help decide humanity's future. She saw fear in some faces, determination in others, but mostly she saw hope. Hope that humanity could face the galaxy on their own terms. Send the recall order, she said to Blake. Bring the Defiant home, and let's show the collective that Earth's children are nobody's subordinates. Blake saluted and left to make the arrangements. Lisa remained behind with Moore. Are we doing the right thing? Moore asked quietly. Lisa smiled slightly. History will tell us that, but I know one thing for certain. If we accept their terms without even trying to negotiate as equals, we will always wonder what might have been. At least this way we'll know we fought for our freedom. In the Oort cloud, far from Earth and far from the watching eyes of the collective, Captain Nicole Foster received her orders. She read them twice, making sure she understood correctly. Then she called her senior officers to the bridge. We're going home, she told them. And when we arrive, the galaxy is going to see what humanity is really capable of. The Defiant's engines powered up, their glow visible for millions of kilometers in every direction. The massive warship turned toward the inner solar system and began its journey home. Behind it, the construction facility went dark and silent, its work complete. Humanity's secret was about to be revealed, and nothing would ever be the same again. Commander Lisa Morgan requested another meeting with Ambassador Kelthon 3 days after the secret conference. She arrived at the alien vessel with the same security team as before, but this time she carried herself with a different kind of confidence. Daniel Harris noticed it immediately. Lisa was not coming as a supplicant hoping for mercy. She was coming as an equal with a counteroffer. The meeting room looked exactly as it had before, all shifting colors and strange geometry. Kelthon greeted them with the same four-armed gesture of welcome, his golden eyes studying Lisa with what might have been curiosity. Commander Morgan, we are pleased you have returned so quickly. Has humanity reached a decision about joining the collective? We have, Lisa said, taking her seat across from the alien ambassador. But it is not the decision you expected. Kelthon's expression did not change, but something in his posture shifted. Oh, please explain. Lisa pulled up a holographic display from her data pad, showing a document with terms written in both English and what she had been told was the collective's primary trade language. Humanity appreciates the collective's offer. We recognize the value of galactic cooperation, and we desire peaceful relations with all species. However, we cannot accept junior membership status. Cannot? Kelthon repeated, and now there was an edge to his translated voice. Or will not? Both, Lisa said calmly. We propose instead a mutual defense treaty between equals. Humanity will engage in diplomatic and economic relations with the collective. We will share certain technologies and accept limited collective presence in our system for trade and cultural exchange. But humanity will retain complete sovereignty, maintain unrestricted military development, and hold equal voting rights in any collective decisions that affect human interests. The silence that followed was heavy. Kelthon stared at Lisa as if she had said something in a language his translator could not process. Then he laughed, a sound like wind chimes being shaken too hard. Commander Morgan, I think perhaps you do not understand the situation. Humanity is a single species on a single world. The collective spans 47 species across thousands of worlds. Your military capabilities are, forgive me, negligible. You have no leverage to demand equal status, don't we? Lisa said, and touched her data pad again. The holographic display changed to show a map of the solar system. Kelthon recognized Earth's orbital defenses, the patrol ships, the satellites. Nothing impressive. Nothing that would concern the collective in the slightest. Then Lisa added another layer to the map. A new contact appeared, accelerating inward from beyond Neptune. The energy signature was massive. The size was unprecedented for a human vessel, and the speed at which it was moving made Kelthon lean forward, his golden eyes widening. What is that? He demanded. That, Lisa said with quiet satisfaction, is the Defiant, a Titan-class warship, and it's coming home. Kelthon's hand moved rapidly over his own control panel, pulling up sensor data from the collective's diplomatic ship. Lisa watched his expression change from confusion to disbelief to something that might have been fear. This is impossible. Our intelligence indicated no such capability. Where did you build this? Where you were not looking, Lisa replied simply. Humanity has been preparing for first contact for 20 years, Ambassador. We hoped for friendship, but we planned for every possibility. The data streaming across Kelthon's display showed the Defiant's approach. Its drive system alone was generating energy readings that should not have been possible for human technology. Its size dwarfed anything humanity had publicly revealed, and its weapon signatures even at this distance were unmistakable. One warship does not change the balance of power, Kelthon said, but his voice lacked conviction. Perhaps not, Lisa agreed, but it changes the conversation. It proves that humanity is not helpless, that we can defend ourselves, that we deserve to be treated as partners, not children. Admiral Blake's voice came through on the communication channel, his image appearing next to Lisa. Ambassador Kelthon, I am Fleet Admiral Kevin Blake, Commander of Earth's military forces. I want to assure you that the Defiant's arrival is not a threat. It is a statement. Humanity seeks peace, but we will not accept peace at the cost of our freedom. Kelthon stood abruptly, all four arms moving in what Lisa had learned was a gesture of agitation. You deceived us. You hid your true capabilities. We protected ourselves, Blake corrected. The collective came to our system, analyzed our defenses and decided we were weak enough to be controlled. You made assumptions without complete information. That was your mistake, not ours. The alien ambassador was silent for a long moment. Lisa could see him thinking, calculating, trying to understand how badly he had misjudged humanity. Finally, he spoke. I must consult with collective leadership. This changes things considerably. Take all the time you need, Lisa said. The Defiant will be taking up position between Earth and your vessel within 2 days. Consider it an honor guard during our negotiations. Kelthon's expression suggested he considered it something else entirely, but he did not argue. The meeting ended with cold formality, none of the warmth from their first encounter remaining. Back aboard Unity 1, Daniel found Lisa staring out at the stars again. That went about as well as we could have hoped, he said. He's scared, Lisa replied. Not of the Defiant specifically, but of what it represents. If humanity can innovate this much in 20 years, what will we be capable of in 100 years? In 1,000? Do you think they'll accept our terms? I think they'll have to. The alternative is war, and the collective has been at peace for 3,000 years. They're not ready for a real fight, especially not against an opponent who might actually hurt them. The Defiant continued its approach, visible now to every telescope on Earth and throughout the system. News of the warship's existence had leaked, of course. Secrets that big could not be kept forever. The public reaction was mixed. Some celebrated, proud that humanity had built something so impressive. Others were angry about the secrecy and the resources spent on military development. President Moore addressed the world from the White House, explaining the necessity of the Titan project. We hoped for peace, she said, but we prepared for survival. The Defiant exists because we refuse to leave our future in anyone else's hands. It exists because humanity deserves to stand among the stars as equals, not subjects. Captain Nicole Foster brought her ship into the inner system with practiced precision. The Defiant was beautiful in a terrifying way. All black armor and weapon ports. A declaration rendered in metal that humanity would not be pushed around. Foster positioned her vessel exactly where Admiral Blake had instructed, close enough to Earth to defend it, close enough to the collective ship to be impossible to ignore. Kelthon watched from his own vessel as the human warship settled into position. He had sent detailed reports to collective leadership, along with every scan and analysis his ship could provide. The response was taking longer than he expected, and that worried him. The collective council was debating. Some members argued for immediate military action, to suppress humanity before they became a true threat. Others advocated for diplomatic solutions, pointing out that the Defiant might be advanced, but it was still just one ship. A few voices, mostly from species that had been among the last to join the collective, spoke in support of humanity's demands. They remembered what it felt like to be treated as inferiors. After 3 days of silence, Kelthon finally received his new instructions. He read them twice, hardly believing what he was seeing. The collective was taking humanity seriously. They were actually considering the treaty proposal. But first, they wanted a demonstration. They wanted to see what the Defiant could actually do in combat. They proposed a joint military exercise in a nearby system. The collective would send a task force. Humanity would send the Defiant. Simulated combat to assess capabilities. Kelthon transmitted the proposal to Commander Morgan, expecting her to refuse. A combat exercise against superior numbers was an obvious trap, a way to humiliate humanity and prove they still needed collective protection. To his surprise, Admiral Blake accepted immediately. "We welcome the opportunity to demonstrate our capabilities," Blake said. "Tell your war leader to bring his best ships and his best tactics. We'll show him what humanity can do." Kelthon felt something he had not experienced in decades: respect, mixed with genuine uncertainty about the outcome. Either humanity was arrogant to the point of foolishness, or they knew something the collective did not. 3 days later, he would have his answer. The system chosen for the exercise was 12 light-years from Earth, a dead place with no habitable planets but plenty of asteroids and gravitational anomalies. The collective task force arrived first, 12 warships of various sizes arranged in a standard military formation. War leader Torvin commanded the force from his cruiser, confident that this exercise would prove humanity's arrogance was greater than their capability. Torvin was a veteran of the collective's border conflicts, mostly skirmishes with pirates and raiders. He had reviewed the data on the Defiant with skepticism. Yes, the human ship showed some impressive innovations. Yes, their drive system appeared more efficient than collective designs, but innovation meant nothing without experience. War was about more than technology. It was about tactics, coordination, and the wisdom that came from centuries of military tradition. His 12 ships represented standard collective military doctrine: smaller frigates to harass and distract, medium cruisers to deliver sustained firepower, and his own heavy cruiser to coordinate everything and deliver the killing blow when needed. It was a formation that had worked for 1,000 years. It would work now. The Defiant arrived exactly on schedule, its jump so smooth it barely disturbed space-time. Torvin had to admit that was impressive. Collective ships made more turbulence when transitioning from faster-than-light travel. But one technical advantage did not win battles. Captain Nicole Foster studied the collective formation from the bridge of the Defiant. Her crew was at battle stations, everyone focused and ready. They had trained for months in the outer system, running every combat simulation Blake's strategists could design. This was what they had prepared for. "All ships are showing as simulation mode confirmed," her weapons officer, Lieutenant Greg Patterson, reported. "Their weapons are disabled for actual damage, but the monitoring systems will record hit effectiveness." "Same for us," Foster confirmed. "This is a test, not a war, but we're going to show them exactly what we're capable of." The rules of the engagement were simple. The collective task force would hunt and destroy the Defiant. The Defiant would survive and inflict as much damage as possible. The exercise would continue until one side was eliminated or called a halt. All weapons were set to simulation mode, their impacts recorded by neutral monitoring systems both sides had agreed to. Torvin opened a communication channel to the Defiant. "Human vessel, your courage in accepting this challenge is noted. There is no shame in being outmatched. We will make this quick." Foster smiled slightly. "War Leader Torvin, we appreciate your concern. Please show us your best tactics. We're eager to learn." The exercise began. Torvin immediately deployed his ships in the standard pack formation, 3 groups of 4 vessels each moving to surround the Defiant and box it in from multiple angles. It was basic doctrine, proven effective against solo ships trying to fight superior numbers. Foster watched the collective ships move into position with the predictability of a textbook exercise. She glanced at her executive officer, Commander Paul Briggs. "They're using the encirclement pattern from their training manuals. No adaptation, no innovation." "Then let's show them something they haven't seen before," Briggs replied. The Defiant's engines flared with sudden intensity, accelerating the massive warship at a rate that made Torvin's sensor officers doubt their readings. The human ship did not try to break through the encirclement. Instead, it raced toward a nearby asteroid cluster, its speed far exceeding what collective vessels could match. "They're running," one of Torvin's officers said. "No," Torvin replied slowly. "They're repositioning. Follow them. Maintain formation." But maintaining formation while chasing a ship that could accelerate twice as fast as you was difficult. Torvin's neat groups began to spread out, their coordination breaking down as faster ships pulled ahead and slower ones fell behind. The Defiant dove into the asteroid field and disappeared from direct line of sight. Torvin ordered his ships to follow, confident that the humans were simply delaying the inevitable. You could not hide in an asteroid field forever. Foster positioned her ship behind a large asteroid, using it as cover while her sensors tracked every collective vessel. They're coming in scattered now, no coordination between groups. Patterson, pick your targets. The Defiant emerged from the asteroid field at an angle Torvin had not anticipated, coming from above his lead group at high speed. Patterson locked weapons on 3 collective frigates that were too close together and opened fire. The railguns fired in sequence, accelerating projectiles to a fraction of light speed. In simulation mode, the impacts registered as catastrophic hits. The monitoring systems recorded 3 collective frigates eliminated in the opening 5 seconds. Torvin stared at his display in shock. 3 ships gone in one pass. The human warship had not even slowed down, already repositioning for another attack run. Regroup, he ordered sharply. Defensive formation, concentrate fire. But regrouping was easier ordered than done. The Defiant was everywhere, using its superior speed and maneuverability to strike from unexpected angles. Foster never let her ship stay still, never let the collective vessels establish firing solutions. She used the asteroids as cover, used the system's gravitational anomalies to slingshot into attack positions, and used every advantage the Defiant's advanced systems provided. Patterson worked his weapons with practiced efficiency. The railguns hammered collective shields, the directed energy weapons carved through armor plating, and the missile pods launched salvos that adapted to enemy countermeasures in real time. Each attack was precise, each shot calculated for maximum impact. Commander Briggs coordinated point defense, the Defiant's automated systems tracking and eliminating incoming missiles with almost casual efficiency. The collective's weapons could not get through the layers of defense, but the Defiant's weapons seemed to find their targets every time. Within an hour, Torvin had lost 6 ships. Within 90 minutes, 9 were gone. The Defiant had sustained minimal damage, its shields holding strong, its armor barely scratched. The exercise had become a demonstration of the gulf between human innovation and collective stagnation. Torvin called a halt when only 3 of his 12 ships remained functional. His pride was wounded, but his military professionalism forced him to accept reality. The Defiant had not just won, it had dominated. Foster brought her ship to a stop and opened a communication channel. War Leader Torvin, thank you for the training exercise. Your tactics were educational. Educational. Torvin heard the unspoken message. Your tactics were predictable. Your technology was inadequate. Your assumptions were wrong. Captain Foster, Torvin replied with as much dignity as he could muster. Your ship and crew have proven their capability. The collective will need to reconsider our assessment of human military strength. The Defiant is not our only Titan-class warship, Foster said, a calculated lie that Blake had authorized. It's merely the first. 3 more are under construction. 24 more are planned. This was only partially true. The other Titans existed only as blueprints and half-completed components. But Torvin did not need to know that. The threat of more ships like the Defiant would weigh heavily in collective calculations. The monitoring systems had recorded everything. The data showed clearly that a single human warship had defeated a collective task force that should have overwhelmed it. The implications were staggering. If humanity could build more ships like this, if they continued innovating at their current pace, they would surpass collective military capability within a generation. Torvin transmitted his report to collective leadership with a heavy heart. He had been defeated, but more than that, he had been outmaneuvered, outthought, and outfought by a species the collective had dismissed as primitive. The humans had proven they understood war at a fundamental level the collective had forgotten. Foster addressed her crew as the Defiant prepared to return to Earth. You performed perfectly. Every system worked as designed. Every tactic executed flawlessly. But remember, this was an exercise. Real combat is messier, more dangerous, less predictable. We proved we can fight, but our goal is to make sure we never have to. The Defiant began its journey home, leaving the remnants of the collective task force to contemplate their defeat. In his quarters, Foster allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before the weight of responsibility settled back on her shoulders. They had won the exercise, but the real test was still ahead. Would the collective accept humanity as equals, or would this demonstration provoke them to more aggressive action? The answer would come soon enough. The Collective Council met an emergency session for the first time in 300 years. Representatives from all 47 member species gathered in holographic form, their images projected across light years of space. The debate was fierce, emotional, and unprecedented. Humanity's demonstration had shattered assumptions the collective had held for millennia. Ambassador Kelthon presented the exercise data personally, his forearms moving in gestures of emphasis as he explained what had happened. War leader Torvin stood beside him, his military bearing unable to hide the shame of defeat. The recordings spoke for themselves. One human warship had destroyed 9 collective vessels and forced the remaining 3 to surrender. Some council members wanted immediate military action. They argued that humanity was dangerous, that they had lied about their capabilities, that they must be suppressed before they became a genuine threat to collective dominance. Others urged caution, pointing out that the Defiant might be advanced, but it was still just one ship. And a few voices, mostly from species that had joined the collective more recently, spoke in favor of accepting humanity's treaty proposal. The debate raged for 6 days. Back on Earth, people waited anxiously for the collective's response. Captain Foster kept the Defiant on high alert, ready for any outcome. President Moore barely slept, knowing that her decision to reveal humanity's hidden strength might have started a war. Finally, Kelthon returned to Earth's orbit with new instructions. His expression was harder to read now, but Commander Lisa Morgan thought she detected something like respect in his golden eyes when they met again aboard Unity 1. The Collective Council has reviewed humanity's proposal, Kelthon began without preamble, and we have decided to negotiate in good faith. Lisa felt tension drain from her shoulders. We're pleased to hear that. Do not misunderstand, Kelthon continued. There are still concerns. Many species worry about setting precedent. If humanity enters as equals without proving themselves over generations, other species may demand the same treatment. The collective's hierarchy exists for good reasons. Perhaps, Lisa said carefully, but surely those reasons can adapt to new circumstances. The galaxy changes. Civilizations should change with it. Kelthon's expression shifted into what might have been a smile. That is what the younger species argue. The older ones resist change. They remember when the hierarchy brought peace after centuries of conflict. But your Defiant has forced everyone to reconsider their assumptions. The negotiations began immediately and continued for 6 weeks. Every detail was debated, every clause examined from multiple angles. Humanity wanted full sovereignty and unrestricted military development. The collective wanted assurances that human expansion would not threaten existing territories. Both sides had to compromise. Dr. Alan Rodriguez offered a solution that helped break the deadlock. Humanity would share limited technical data about their drive system innovations in exchange for access to collective medical technology and scientific databases. Both sides would benefit, and the technology exchange would build trust. Admiral Blake made it clear that humanity would defend itself if attacked, but that Earth sought cooperation, not conflict. He emphasized that the Defiant's purpose was defense, not conquest. Humanity had no interest in threatening the collective. They simply wanted to stand as equals. Captain Foster kept the Defiant on station throughout the negotiations, a quiet reminder of humanity's capabilities. Her crew remained vigilant, ready for any scenario. But as the days passed and the negotiations continued without breaking down, Foster began to hope that peace might actually be possible. President Moore addressed the United Nations during the 3rd week of negotiations. The world was divided between those who celebrated humanity's show of strength and those who worried about the risks. Moore acknowledged both perspectives. We took a gamble, she admitted. We revealed our strength and demanded equality. That gamble could have led to war. But I believed then and I believe now that humanity deserves to control its own destiny. We will not accept being second-class citizens in someone else's empire. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us to coexist as equals. The final treaty was completed after 42 days of intense negotiation. Humanity would become an associate member of the collective with full sovereignty. Earth would maintain unrestricted military development, control its own expansion into nearby star systems, and hold voting rights proportional to its population and resources in collective decisions. In exchange, humanity would share specified technologies on a schedule both sides agreed to. Earth would accept collective observers in the solar system for trade and diplomatic purposes. And humanity would participate in mutual defense agreements, committing to help defend collective members if they were attacked by external threats. It was not perfect. Both sides had compromised, but it was fair, or as fair as any agreement between civilizations with such different backgrounds could be. Most importantly, it preserved Earth's independence and established humanity as a civilization to be respected. The signing ceremony took place aboard Unity 1 with representatives from both sides present. Commander Morgan signed for humanity, her signature committing Earth to a new relationship with the galaxy. Kelthan signed for the collective, his expression solemn as he realized the historical significance of the moment. This treaty represents a new direction for the collective, Kelthan said during his speech. For 3,000 years we have followed the same patterns, the same hierarchies, the same methods. Humanity has reminded us that innovation is possible, that change can be positive, and that strength comes in many forms. We welcome humanity not as subjects but as partners. Lisa listened to the speech and felt satisfaction mixed with exhaustion. The past 2 months had been the most stressful of her life. But they had achieved what seemed impossible. Humanity had faced a galactic empire and negotiated as equals. Captain Foster received orders to stand down from high alert. The Defiant would remain Earth's primary defense vessel, but the immediate threat of conflict had passed. Foster addressed her crew with pride. You performed beyond expectations. You demonstrated that humanity deserves respect. But remember, this treaty is a beginning, not an ending. We have to prove ourselves worthy of the equality we demanded. That means continuing to innovate, continuing to train, continuing to be ready for whatever challenges come next. In the weeks following the treaty signing, Earth's relationship with the collective began to evolve. Trade ships arrived bringing goods from dozens of worlds. Human entertainment and culture proved surprisingly popular among alien species hungry for something new. Collective medical technology saved lives across Earth, and human-manufactured goods found markets light years away. Military exchanges began, with collective officers visiting Earth to observe human training methods and strategic thinking. Human officers traveled to collective academies to study their logistics systems and coordination protocols. Both sides learned from each other, though humanity kept its most advanced secrets carefully guarded. Construction accelerated on the second Titan-class warship. The Resolution would incorporate lessons learned from the Defiant's combat exercise, making it even more capable. Blake pushed for an ambitious timeline, arguing that humanity needed to back up their claims about building more Titans. Empty threats were worse than no threats at all. President Moore reflected on the past year during her address to mark the treaty anniversary. We faced a choice between subjugation and freedom. We chose freedom, even though it meant taking risks. The Defiant proved we could defend that freedom. But the real victory is not military. It's the recognition that humanity deserves a voice in galactic affairs, that our ideas and innovations have value, and that we will stand as equals among the stars. Commander Morgan, now promoted to Admiral, took over diplomatic relations with the collective. Her first major challenge was managing the influx of alien visitors to the solar system. Some came as tourists, wanting to see the homeworld of the species that had challenged the collective. Others came as scholars studying human culture and history. A few came with less friendly intentions, testing humanity's defenses and resolve. Captain Foster continued commanding the Defiant, now leading patrol missions to nearby star systems as humanity began cautious exploration beyond Sol. Every mission gathered data about the galaxy, mapped potential threats, and showed the collective that humanity was serious about taking their place among spacefaring civilizations. The galaxy had not changed overnight. The collective still held vast power. Dozens of species still occupied lower tiers of the hierarchy. But humanity had proven that change was possible, that a young species could stand up and demand respect, and that innovation mattered as much as age or tradition. The future remained uncertain. The galaxy was vast and held countless unknowns. But humanity faced that future not as subjects or subordinates, but as equals. And that made all the difference.